Alex Jones was right. Changed my mind. I'm not here to change your mind. I'm here to. But was he right about Sandy Hook?
Not completely.
The scariest thing happening in the country that people aren't talking about as much as you think they should be talking about now.
Culturally, overall, I think there's just a lot of rot in almost every major institution. Not just within government and elected officials, but you think about the academia, you think about entertainment, business now even. There's a rot within our culture that has got to be reversed in my view.
Can you talk again specifically like where that is rather than in a sort of an umbrella way? Like where?
Well, as an example, we look at what's happened on so many college campuses recently after the events in Israel, of literally hundreds and thousands of students supporting terrorists, the beheading of women and children, babies, in active support of that. Active support of, every time we hear from the river to the sea, that has a meaning, and it means extermination of Israel. And to see, young people on our campuses in wholehearted support of that is frightening to me.
What is about him that you liked? What was exciting when he was in president?
He's honest. He knows how to run businesses, economy. He knows what to do. He doesn't back down for nobody. I like that as a person, as a man, too.
What are people not talking about that you'd like to see them talk about more, especially from the perspective of an 18-year-old?
I think the rights for parents. I think that's nobody talks about. A lot of these parents don't have rights about their kids. A lot of these parents' kids they get taken away for no reason. And I think that's the biggest problem we're facing. A lot of these companies are making money, like these therapists, all these pharmacies, they're just making money to these kids. And I think it's really disrespectful and just not good for the country. It's just ridiculous. It needs to get talked about, and I think it just needs to get really pushed and keep everything, none of this woke stuff, all that stuff needs to get out of here. These parents have rights. They need rights.
What do you think is the most dangerous thing happening in this country right now? Let me finish. That nobody's talking about.
I would say the war in Israel, because it never stops. If we're not in Israel, we're somewhere else. America's got to quit helping people. They can't help themselves. We've got plenty of people in this country that is starving, that is homeless. Why do we keep going somewhere else to take care of them? They don't appreciate us. Ex-military, they do not appreciate you.
What do you think is the most dangerous thing happening in the country that people aren't talking about as much?
I think it's our basic trust of each other. We always looked at us as fellow citizens, and now we're divided, and we all look at, like a guy comes by driving just now and honking, and I put my thumb up, and then I go, oh, and then he goes by, and I go, oh, I could have got shot. You never know anymore. Maybe you aren't want to stand out in the crowd.
What do you think is the scariest thing happening in the country right now, the most dangerous thing happening in the country?
The border, definitely the border, and all the scams, and it's dangerous. And
to a lot of Americans who don't live in the very heart center of this country, they look at the border and they think, how can people in Iowa be as concerned about the border as they are? What would you say to them?
Of how they're concerned about the border?
Yeah, just because of the geography of Iowa, smack dab in the middle of the country. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're a big state with a small population. So I think they're going to go after California and New York before they come after us, because farmers know how to handle themselves. So we'll be ready.
What's the sort of underrated thing that people aren't talking about that you think is sort of scariest now?
The number of kids that go missing, number of, what's happening with these kids that isn't being talked about.
Right. So to what do we attribute that? Do we know?
I don't know. They have, it's not talked about enough to really, you have to do some pretty deep digging to figure it out. So, yeah.
What you think at 81 years of age is the most dangerous thing that's happening in the country that nobody's talking about?
What I think is most dangerous for our country, and I'm very much afraid that we're going to end up in a civil war, and I mean a shooting civil war, and I'm not kidding, is because we have been following, the government has been following a policy of division of the people. You're brown, you belong in this category. You're Asian, you belong in that category. You're homosexual, you belong in this category. Everybody's divided instead of pulling together. The President Biden came in saying, I'm going to bring people together. He hasn't.
Frankly, every president says that, and it rarely works.
Not with as much demonstration that I wasn't sincere when they go into office, and the first thing you do is you tear down the barriers for people coming in illegally.
What do you think is the scariest thing that's happening in the country right now that people aren't talking about as much as they should be?
I think it's all the conflicts that we're going through overseas right now, how close we are to World War III, and I think that needs to be talked about.
Who do you blame for that?
Our government.
Our government, even though Putin went into Ukraine and Hamas went into Israel?
Yes, because we should have been able to defend them and stop that, and it didn't happen.
What do you think something that is not getting enough coverage?
All the illegal people, what they're planning to do here. We don't know what all the people coming in are planning.
We're having trouble with medical. The illegals are coming over and they're not bringing doctors. And so we have medical issues and we can't get in because it's being flooded by other people that aren't paying. That nobody talks about that, or the education that we're paying for, and they aren't.
I guess I'm concerned with the possibility of attacks, terrorist attacks on our own soil. It just seems like we're seeing more and more people come across the border that have ties with Iran or with China or places like that.
What do you think is the most dangerous thing that's happening in this country that people aren't talking about right now?
The most dangerous thing?
Yeah, that people aren't talking enough about now.
Trucking. You can't survive without trucking. I mean, we bring everything, and people don't realize that. If you have it on or you eat it, we bring it to you. And with rates the way they are, there's thousands of companies shutting down right now, going bankruptcy. Without us, you won't get product. And that's going to be a sad thing. We're going to have a lot of shortages because of it.
Has any administration taken that up? I mean, either the Trump administration, the Biden administration, Obama, or Bush, has it ever been a priority enough?
No, it's never been a priority enough. It really hasn't. And it's sad because you won't even have gasoline to get to work, let alone have a work to go to, because they won't have anything to produce. I mean, look at the shortages we had during COVID. The store shelves were empty. We ran out of toilet paper. It was like everybody go get the toilet paper. I didn't understand it, but okay. But without us, it's going to struggle. We're going to struggle.
Can you sing 16 Wheels? And okay. 18 Wheels. Well, yeah, it is in a dozen roses, 18. Come on. One line?
Nope.
Okay.
Give me weed, whites, and wine. That's what I want to hear.